So we're looking at page 90 in the book, right? Tile distributors. So use SQL to complete the following exercises, right? And so the first exercise we're going to look at, and I don't know if I'm going to type any of the instructions on the screen here, because that might be a waste of time to do that. Does anybody have a digital copy of the book? How did you get it? Is it for sale, or can you? How do you get the? Okay. If I had one, I just put it up on the screen is what I was wondering. But that's all right. All right. So the first one, question number 1 says, create a table named sales rep, sales underscore rep, and we're doing this in the tile distributor database. So I don't want anybody to code just yet. All right. I want us to talk about the problem first. All right. The table has the same structure as the rep table, which is shown in Figure 311, which is on the next page right here. Okay. I think, or it's on the previous page. Let's look here. Where's Figure 311? See, I purposely did not look ahead. 311, this is like 339. We're way back here. I mean, we know the structure because we have it, but that's 321, 315. Here we go. 311 is on page, somebody just said, I think, 65. Yeah. Okay. So if you look on page 65, it literally has basically the code that we're going to write. I don't want to do that. Okay? I don't want to do it that way. So don't look on that page. Stay here. Okay, we're going to do it by looking at the table that already exists. So this tells us that we're going to create a table called sales rep. I'm just taking notes right now. That looks like rep, right? It's the exact same structure, okay? Except the last name column should be a varchar instead of a char, okay? Variable character. The data type and the commission rate should be number data types. So let's execute the command to describe the layout and characteristics of the sales rep table. All right, so let's make the table first, right? So we're back to table structure. When we're doing table structure, how's that flow go? What's the first thing? I hear people starting to say the thing you're going to do, which is create. Say the thing you're going to do it to, which is a table, and then say its name, sales rep, right? There we go. Oh, not curly braces, wrong language, guys. All right, so next up, we're going to look at the table that already exists and describe rep, okay? We're going to replicate this table with some minor changes, all right? So rep num, fine. What do? We just say the name of it there, rep num, and that it's a char 2, right? Easy enough. Put a comma there, we're good. Okay? Make sense? This is something you guys should know already. Next up, the last name field. The book says it should be a variable character instead of just a char. All right? It doesn't say how many fields or how many characters it should take, so we're just going to assume 15. All right, so it's called last name, and it's a variable character of 15, like so, right? All right, and then just filling out the rest of it. First name was a character of 15, right? And then street, city, state. Those are all characters. The state's 2, but the rest are 15. So street, char 15, city, char 15. And please make sure you're following along here. Street, city, state is 2. All right. All right. Now that we got the street, city, state, let's go back and look at the table, and we have the postal code, which is a char 5. Oops. Postal code, char 5. All right. And then now the book said the commission rate, the commission and the rate were going to be a little bit different. It says the commission and rate column should use the number data type, right, instead of the decimal. All right. So we have commission and number. And we have rate, number. So is that all we need to do with number? Does it have a parenthesis like the other ones? I'm seeing a lot of shrugged shoulders. Well, there's a couple ways to find out. We can run it and see. I could just tell you, or we could look it up. I don't like I could just tell you. Never like that option. Let's run it and see what happens, okay? Okay, so I think that's everything that the book is saying we need to do, all right, for that first problem. What's the only thing missing here? What is it? Oh, very good. I actually forgot to do the primary key, so I'm glad you caught that. Primary key, there's something else missing. Semicolon, yeah, very good. So let's put the semicolon in. Now, the primary key, there's two different ways we can do it. Well, there's at least two different ways. What's the easy way? Yeah, just put the word primary key right here, right? That's one way, primary key. What's another way I could do that? Yeah, after this, number, whoops, tabs off, primary key. And then in parentheses put the rep num, right? But I like the other way. So let's go back here. This is easy enough. Primary key. Good. Okay, looks good to me. So I'm going to get rid of this little note here. Now I'm going to show you a little trick, guys, right? Don't copy and paste this into the command line. I'm going to show you a cool little feature. This is on my desktop right now. It's a file called query. Get rid of that. Yes. So here's this file called query. There's a really cool command line command, I guess, that you can use when you're in the SQL command line called source, which will allow you to just run a SQL file. All right. So let's make sure our file is ready to be run. I want to, in here, just make sure we use the towel database. Okay. Save this. Now, on the command line, I'm going to scoot it over a little bit. On the command line here, if I type in the word source and then the file path of this file right here, it will, then I can run it. I don't even have to type the file path because I can just drag it right there and it puts the file path for me. Okay? Now when I do it, it'll actually run that query. And we have an error. Remember I told you we could either run it and see what happens or I could just tell you? So what happened? Yep, let's take a look. So how can we find out how to do this? You could look up the error number, okay, error 1064. Right, okay, sure, you could also look, yeah, you can look in the code. So it says you have an error in your SQL syntax. Check the manual that corresponds to your MySQL server for the right syntax to use near number. And then rate number. So let's first of all make sure we don't have any actual typos or anything like that. We don't, okay, like I didn't miss a comma or anything like that, right? So then what's going on here? It's probably our syntax with number, right? I purposely orchestrated an error here because I want you guys to figure out how to troubleshoot this kind of stuff, okay? So how could we figure out what to do there? Clearly our number, something's wrong with number. I think, I mean, doesn't that seem to imply that that's where the problem lies, right? Okay, so what do we do? How do we figure this out?
Look up data types.
Yeah, look up data types, right? Okay, so let's do it. To the Google, right? So, MySQL, make sure you type in the language you're using, data type, and I'm going to say number syntax. Okay? Now, silly as this may sound, guys, learning how to use, doesn't have to be Google, but we'll just use that as a generic term for search engines. Learning how to Google stuff is a critical tool as a developer, right? Don't feel like, oh, I should know all this stuff. No, it's impossible, guys. Today, in my 1430 class, I've been a web programmer, again, longer than most of you guys have been alive, and today in my 1430 class, I learned something I did not know, right? Which is not a shocker to me. I learn stuff I don't know all the time. But there was a property that had a new thing added to it that I was not aware of. And one of my students found it and pointed it out. I'm like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Because knowing that that exists now, I'm actually building a website where I needed that ability, and I had to do it a really hard way because that property didn't exist. Now it exists.
Talking about the global thing?
No, that was a PHP thing.
Oh.
That was another one that, but I normally don't even use global. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. No, it's for those who know CSS and you know the position property. There's position absolute, position static, relative, and fixed. There's a new one called sticky. It's a brand new one. I didn't even know about it, and it's awesome. It's freaking awesome. For another time, another day, but it's awesome, and it saved me a lot of work in a site that I'm working on. One of my students found it for me. So, Google stuff, guys. Google it. So here we go. And look for the one that's the dev.mysql. That's the one you want to look at, okay? This is the actual SQL documentation here. All right, so numeric data types, that's what we're looking at. Let's see if we can see anything here by scrolling down. No. So I'm going to click on numeric data types. And number should be in the list somewhere here. Look over here. Ooh, this is going to be fun to find this. Let's try this one. Decimal. And I'm not seeing anything here, guys.
I'm going to pull it up on W3 School.
Okay, let's try W3 Schools. Yeah, this documentation can be tricky to navigate. All right, do I have W3 Schools? There we go. Okay. See how this one, that's not W3 Schools. What is that? Did I click on the wrong link? There we go. Okay. So here we go. Do you notice something interesting? Take a close look. I'm trying to set you guys up here, man. Come on. There is no number. It's not a data type. Okay? It's a category of data types, right? Okay. So, I was hoping somebody would point that out when I was looking at the documentation, but nobody did. Okay. So, you can see all these different, these are the number data types. Decimal, double, float, big int, medium int, small int, tiny int. Now, let's look at the instructions again, though. The commission and rate columns should use the number data type. What's going on there? It says use the number data type.
Just want us to use one of the number data types, or?
But it already is. It's using decimal. That's a number data type. What's that? Maybe an int. It doesn't say. It even says the number data type, which sort of makes you believe that there is a data type called number. So what now? You guys have the book in front of you, right? Doesn't that, by looking at that, wouldn't you think that you're supposed to use a data type called number? Seems like it. No.
So it's just telling you to use the data type of number, essentially, which encompasses all those different types of...
Well, but currently, so it's saying to change commission and rate to use the number data type. But if you look at commission and rate, they are using a number data type, decimal, right? It's a little funky here. So maybe I'll lead you down a path a little bit here. We're using MySQL. That's not the only version of the language out there. Well, Access is just, Access isn't real. That doesn't count. That's not a real thing. But there is Microsoft SQL, MS SQL, there's Oracle, there's Postgres, there's DB2, there's a bunch of them out there. And they're a little bit different, okay? So, how would we find out? Maybe, because the book doesn't only use MySQL, right? The book is called A Guide to SQL. It used to be called the Guide to MySQL. They changed it with these newer editions. So it's actually uses other languages in here.
So you type in, I would imagine you could just base it off the query that it's giving you, number, data type, maybe just SQL and figure out which.
Yes. So let's see if we can find if it exists somewhere else, right? So yeah. So number, data type in Oracle. Look what popped up. But I've never searched for that before ever. Look what popped up in Oracle. Let's look there, and look at that number, right? And it has a P and an S, which means something. I've never done Oracle code, so I don't know. I know that there are things that exist in Oracle that don't exist in MySQL and so forth. Okay, so it does exist in Oracle. All right. So now the question then becomes, well, what's the book wanting us to do? Does it want us to use another language, right? Or is there a thing in MySQL that actually is a number data type? Yeah. So when you run across this kind of problem, this is a very good word to know, guys. The word is equivalent. Okay? Number data type equivalent. Equivalent. Well, you see as I started typing it, what was coming up there? And it says SQL Server. I wanted in equivalent. How do you spell that word? There we go. In MySQL. Okay? So Oracle number data type equivalent in MySQL. That looks exactly like what I'm looking for, isn't it? Okay? So here we go. Here's a little comparison. Okay? Let's try that out. All right, let's see if this shows us anything useful. All right, the before, the after, that's not, I don't see number yet. It's just another hot tip, Control F or Command F if you're on a Mac. Control F, and then type, I'm looking for the word number. Okay? And let's just scroll through and see where it highlighted everywhere. See if there's anything useful. Okay? Date, float. Oh, look, here's number. Okay. Now, let's see, this is Oracle, right? So it says number here. Okay, this is MySQL. Look here, Oracle number 19.0 or a big int. Okay, or if we have an Oracle, we have number 10.0, that's a regular int. So what's happening here, all right, I think I've led you guys far enough down the path that I can now give you some more details. What they're describing here in Oracle, the way it works is you have to, oh, let me put that back on so we can see the highlight. Okay, let's leave that there. In Oracle, the way it works here is you have to give it a range, basically, right? These numbers here and it tells you what they mean somewhere else, but those numbers are a range. Well, that range determines how big of a number it can hold. Well, in MySQL, we don't do it that way. We have what we call a big int, which we talked about this like, week 1 of this class, right? We have a big int, we have a regular int, we have a small int, we have lots of, there's lots of different things, right? So, now look at this though, there is one called Numeric, okay? And that is a MySQL, and the Oracle version of that is called number. So maybe that one will work, right? Maybe that's what the book meant. Because if this book is assuming we're using Oracle, then maybe it wants us to use that specific one, just number like that. So what happens if we put numeric in here? Any guesses? Numeric. Any guesses what's going to happen there? Okay, let's run it. Look at that. So let's take a look here. Describe. I forgot the table name. It's been so long. Rep. There we go. Look what it did. It just put the default of a decimal. Okay. So numeric is the default. The default numeric type in SQL is decimal. All right. We could have chosen big int. We could have chosen something else. We're going to leave it at that Because my main focus of doing this together was I wanted you to see this process, what goes through my head in a scenario where, in this case, I did know what we were looking for, but I was trying to pretend as hard as I could that I didn't know what I was doing. Because that's what will happen to you when you first get exposed to something that you're not familiar with. You're not sure what's going on. You have to Google it. You got to look through the documents, and you can't figure it out. So what do you do now? One of my favorite things to Google is XYZ equivalent in ABC language. I do that all the time. Okay, that's a really important key phrase to understand. So, how do we feel about that little exercise there? You feeling okay?
Something I found kind of interesting too is that when I was putting all the data in for like all the different records for the tables, I accidentally passed the postal code in as a number as opposed to a string.
Oh yeah.
And when you do that, it omits the leading zeros. So
Yes.
I had to figure out why it wasn't coming out the way it was supposed to.
Sound familiar? Blending has the exact same problem. Now, you can fix that. Now, if you kept your queries, that's easy to fix. Delete the table, go back and fix it, right? If you didn't keep your queries, there's a way to fix that too. Sorry, I'm just teasing you. You can do an update statement, right? Yeah, you can do an update statement. So what you can do is, yeah, you change the data type to a char, and then you can do an update statement where you concatenate it, right? So in other words, this is a total tangent, but since let's talk about it for a split second. You could do an update rep set postal. So I've already updated the data type, let's say, right? Set postal code equal to concat parenthesis 0 comma postal code, right? It'll concatenate that on there. Now, keep in mind, if you already have a 5-digit postal code that starts with something that's not a 0, that suddenly becomes a 6-digit postal code, which won't work because you made it a char 5, right? So you got to put a where clause on here, right? Where rep num not in whatever the rep nums, or it was not in the rep num table, it's probably the customer table or something like that, or but whatever table where find the IDs of the ones that are already correct and put them in there where they're not in that list. Or if there's only 4 of them that are wrong, say where rep num in and put those in there. Follow? Make sense? So you can fix something like that. Tricky stuff. Total tangent. I'm not going to worry too much about explaining that in detail because it was a little bit of a tangent. Okay, so how do we feel about this thing though with what I just did in the book there? I wanted to do a little experiment with you guys and sort of I don't know, role play if that's the right word, but kind of play it out what goes through my mind when I'm new to a subject that I'm not familiar with, and how do I approach it? How do I find the answers? Because you're going to find when you get in the real world, your boss is going to be like, hey, I need this. And you're going to be like, you need what? All right, I'll go try that. And then you go try it, and you're like, this isn't working. What did he mean? And you have to find the right balance of asking your boss for, you need to ask for details, but you don't want to ask how to do it. Unless like you're in an internship or an apprenticeship or something like that. And again, it's not wrong to ask your boss questions, but if the question is, wait, how do you write a query again? That's no good, guys, right? And so there's some things that you have to know at a fundamental level, all right? So that was kind of the purpose of that little experiment there. All right, so let's pick up the pace now. All right, so we've created the table. The question number 1 at the very end says, execute the command to describe the layout and characteristics of the table. We did that, right? That was describe table where I showed it, and there it is, okay? Feel okay about that? All right, good. Next up, question number 2. This will be a lot easier. We won't have to deal with any weird stuff now. Question number 2, add the following rows to the sales rep table. The rep number is going to be 35. The last name is going to be Lim. First name Louise. Streets, it's got an address there. Cities Grove, State, California. Postal code, commission 0, and rate 0. Okay? It's an insert statement, right? Super easy. So I'm going to clean out my thing here, and we're just going to go, actually, I'm going to close that. Here's a good time to talk about comments, okay? I want to leave this here so I can run the source file again without it rerunning this portion, right? If I were to go back here and run that command again, I'd get an error, wouldn't I? Because I try to create a table that already exists. So let's see that. See, it gave me an error, okay? Well, I want to put my query in this code here and run it again, but I don't want to try to rerun that. So we can use comments, right? Double dash and a space, comments the line out, okay? So in this particular case, what we're going to have to do is, if you're using Notepad++, what happened? Lost the screen, folks. You guys are out of luck. That's the one that always dies over there. I don't know why. So look at one of the other screens. In Notepad++, if you use the Shift and the Alt key and the arrow key, you can move your cursor down onto multiple lines and then just type. Look at that. Okay? So just put a double dash in front of all of them. Make sure that space is there. That'll cause problems if there's not a space there. Okay? So now I can rerun that query, no problem, and I don't get an error because the only thing in it is just use tau. Okay? So I should probably ask this question. Who's not familiar with the concept of code comments? We all know that. We've all been in 1410 or 1430, or we all know what a comment is. We're good there? Okay. Comments are just where you can put little notes to yourself in the code, right? So I could say, this is the create table code, right? It's a little note for me what that's all about. So I can just have, if I have a big, huge file with all this code, I can read it. Well, you can also use comments to just prevent that code from running, okay? All right, so now we're going to do our insert. So in fact, this is the insert code, all right? Here we go. All right, so our insert statement, it says insert into sales rep, right? That's where we're inserting. And we're going to be putting in the values. Let's see if it's using all the fields. Rep number, last name, first name, street, city, state. Yeah, it's using all the fields. So we can get away with the shortcut, which is just this, values, and then whatever the values are in parentheses. So the rep num, 35. The last name is Lim, which needs to be in quotes. First name is Luis, also in quotes. And the street is 535 Vincent Drive. And it's in Grove, California. And what was the zip code? Was 90092. And then the commission was 0 and the rate was 0.05. 0.05. There you go, folks. That's it. Put a semicolon right there, and if I run the source command, it will run that. But I'll pause the video first so you can catch up. On. Let's go ahead and save this, and all I have to do is just rerun that command, right? And bam, it inserted a row. So let's see. Select star from sales rep. And there it is. Uh-oh. See a problem?
0.05 doesn't show on the front right.
Uh-huh.
Because of the numeric data type.
Yeah. Because look at what happened.
It has to be a float.
Yeah, decimal, it's got 10,0. 10,0. You see that?
No, nothing after.
Right? What does 10,0 mean? It means it's 10 digits, but 0 of them are to the right of the decimal point. So that's no bueno, right? Okay. So I wonder if it tells us anything about fixing that in the database, in the code here. It doesn't. The next step is to delete the rep table. So yeah, I'm not sure. And this one, although I know the number, what's going on with the number data type, I'm not sure what the book wanted from us there, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know if they wanted us to use the numeric thing like we did, or if they wanted us to choose a big int, or if they wanted us to stick with decimal. But the impression I got from the book was change it to something, right? We're doing it exactly the same except for, that's the feeling I got. And so it would make no sense to change it to also a decimal 8,2, because that's what it already is. So I'm not sure what they're going for there. So, but we followed their instructions. Other than that fun little path I wanted to take you down with the number, I don't know what's going on with this particular thing. So I don't know if they want to change that or not. I don't know why they would do that. That's weird. Maybe they're assuming we were using a different database, different type. Why is that screen freaking out over there? It's annoying. Okay, so there's one other thing that if I were me, and I usually am, that I would want to try, okay, with that number thing. This lab is done, by the way, but that number thing, what does this make you curious at all? To me, I'm curious now. I'm trying to play the role of a new programmer here, okay? My curiosity is, would number work if I did it with the Oracle syntax, with parentheses? That's what I'd be curious about, right? So let's quickly, do I still have the Oracle page open? I think I do. So let's try, let's see, I want one that's got another number here. Now, I don't code Oracle, so I don't know their syntax very well. I'm looking for one that's got something other than the number 0 in it. See how it always has down here, you know, right there, like 19.0 or whatever. I want to know if you put another number in there, what happens. So, but let's just play around with this, okay? So I'm going to alter table sales rep. And the other thing I'm trying to demonstrate here now, guys, is you could ask me the question, I could give you the answer. You could ask me the question, I could lead you down the path to the answer. Or you could try it yourself in the code and see what happens, right? That's how I learned almost everything when it came to coding, was I tried it myself to figure it out. I wonder what happens if I do this. I crashed my DOS machine a few times by doing that, but it's okay, I just reinstalled DOS, it wasn't a big deal. Okay, update table sales rep, or alter table sales rep, modify commission, no, 2 M's, commission, and we're going to try number 19.0 or something like that, right? See what happens. Well, I just want to try one of them, just either one, yeah. We could do rate too if we want. So any guesses what's going to happen? Any bets? Error? One vote for error? You already tried it? You're not supposed to try it yet. You didn't? Oh, you're guessing it's going to be an error? Okay. Yeah, it's an error. So I just wanted to do that, though, because that's the kind of thing I would do all the time. Hey, I wonder if that'll work in here. Let's try the Oracle syntax. I do that kind of crap all the time. I wonder if that works. Okay? So experiment is the point, guys. Don't be afraid to play around and try different things out. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Well, for now, yeah, in the real world, that's bad, right? But with this, it's a fake database, right? So worst thing that's going to happen is you lose a record or something. But if you've kept all your queries, you can reinstall it. Plus, after the due date of this assignment, I'm going to give you the real database so you can update it yourself and always have a backup, right? Because I do that all the time, right? Here we go. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to reinstall my database right now. And there we go, right? So I'll clean up anything I screwed up right there. Okay, that just deleted the sales rep table we made and everything. Okay? All right, folks, we feeling okay about that? I know it was a weird little journey there, but I wanted to sort of take you through the mind of a programmer and let you know kind of how I learn things. Doesn't mean my way of learning things is the right way, but hopefully it's a helpful way to you. Give you some ideas, all right? Okay, any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? All right.